All right. Here is my final project. This was intended to be Boyd's, the flock simulation. It turns out Boyd's in just a fragment shader is quite hard to do with render to texture. I wasn't able to find hardly anything to help me. So a lot of this is just me trial and error banging my head into a brick wall for like 12 hours. More than 12 hours total, but like several 6-hour sessions. This was really just insane for me. So yeah, you can see it's right now basically what it's doing is all of these dots that you're seeing are spawned in this bottom left little corner and then sent off with velocity. And then we're tracking them. You can see some of them are kind of wavering up and like moving diagonally, and that is because of the attempt at Boyd's. Basically, they all have different forces acting on them depending on their velocity and the velocity of neighbors around them. Um, so yeah, I guess that means I should probably show you uh all of the shaders. All right. So I'll swipe this on over here. Here is the glib. As you can see, I'm doing an attempt. I mean, not really an attempt. I am doing render to texture, and the ping ponging that Game of Life implements. Um, it uses 3 separate sets of shaders. So there's init, and basically what that is intended to do is create the Boyds and give them kind of a random velocity. Um, and then Boyd's sim actually does the actual simulation math effectively, and then texture just renders it out onto this quad. So we'll start with the Boyd's init vert. All of the verts are the same here. Um, so yeah, it's pretty basic. It just tells it to display. Here's texture.vert. Here's Boyd's sim.vert. So you can see they're all the same. Here's Boyd's init.frag. I got this fancy little random function from this link. Um, yeah, it kind of does what it says on the tin. It finds the position that we're at. It adds kind of a random offset to make sure that it doesn't, like, I was having this weird issue where some of them were um sticking together the whole time, and it was causing like a black hole of voids. um and then I've got this random x and random y. Those generate into the velocity here, as you can see. And then we just put them out with frag color as position and velocity. And then those go into Boyd's sim, same random function. Um, and then yeah, this one is kind of a hell of my own making. Um, it takes in the size of the texture, gets some coordinates, clamps them so that it's guaranteed within. At least that's my understanding of that. And then we fetch the texel we're currently on, and that is our Boyd. And then we get from the frag color, we get the X, Y, and Z W. That's the position and velocity. And then we set the separation force, align force, and cohesion force all to 0. And then the neighbor count to 0. And then for each, the sample radius here is basically like how many directions do we want to be going in. And this is 4 directions currently. I could up it to 8 by changing this to 4. So this would be like orthogonal directions. But right now I just have it at 2. Mostly just keeps my room from getting too hot because of my graphics card. So yeah, we get into these really nested loops. If it's 0, then that's the Boyd we're on, so we don't want to do anything to that. But we basically go through, detect if there's any neighbors, and then check their position and velocity, and then do the math for Boyd's. I know that this is wrong, but as you can kind of see, the rest of it's not working well enough, so I didn't have the mental wherewithal to get the math right for Boyd's. And then if neighbor count is greater than 0, we change the align force and cohesion force. Because basically what Boyd's are supposed to do is they're supposed to avoid being in a clump that's too big, but follow the general path that all of the other Boyd's are going. And then this margin doesn't matter. I had like a edge force to help try and avoid the edges, but that wasn't working. And then yeah, speed, pretty straightforward stuff at the end here. This position was made to try and keep them from going. They were really going crazy going off of this quad, so I tried to do a bunch of different stuff to get them to actually stay. And then that frag color goes out and then leads us to texture frag. So this is the one that's kind of responsible for keep making all of these little Boyds spawn in the bottom left, and then the rest is responsible for mucking it up. So the Boyd size is like absolutely tiny. Any bigger than this, and they start to like really look kind of odd to me. This is kind of the only way I was able to keep track of what was going on, even a little bit. Text size, straightforward. Frag position, VST. I feel like that's also kind of straightforward. If it's not, that's because I've been working on this for maybe 48 total hours, and a lot of stuff has rotted my brain. And then we go in for each X and each Y. This is what I mean by it does only that little tiny block there, is it's each X and each Y within that little, like, I don't know how to describe it, texel block, something like that. And we fetch the texel, we get the position, and then if the distance from the fragment to the Boyd is smaller than the size, then we just fill it in with the color. Basically, it takes. I think it's self-explanatory. I don't have the words to describe it right now, but I think it's self-explanatory. Yeah, I obviously you can see I couldn't get the actual Boyd's flocking working, but there is some interesting behavior from some of the Boyds here. While I was working on this, I always thought of sparks. I thought that this was kind of an interesting like spark generator, if you think of the bottom left as like a sparkler. But yeah, so that's all for me today. Thank you for watching. I hope the grade is good enough. Thank you.